closest to the ball, furthest away has to do a, what we're doing there at the end? Truth. We'll do a truth at the end. Oh, that's going to be close. Do us a favour, careful, shout out Joe Cullen. My phone fucked you there, you're in trouble, Carl.
It's the Friday show. Ooh, Graphfit friends.
Crack on then. Can't believe he's gone for the stout.
He's went for the biggest one in.
We just show the camera, which I don't know which camera is it, but let's just have a look at what Joe's drinking. We can zoom into that or something, can't we?
Because it's free. Won't be. So what's the most expensive one in there?
God, if you look at the alcohol freeze then.
Wrong, mate.
Can't swear, can't we? Friday. Well, it's Friday, by the way. Friday. Obviously, it's a Friday show. So.
Say Friday again, mate.
Friday. We're done closest to the bull, which was not me. So I'll be picking up. Well, I think it should be a truth at the end, but these are saying it should be a dare.
I think you should just do a little sing, like start of a song at the end. Into the mic.
Karaoke.
So I'll be doing a truth or a dare or something at the end. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Robbie Williams' Angels, I reckon.
Yeah, just the start of it.
I'll do that anyway. I'll be me tonight anyway. We've had a few pints at the obviously, as usual, it's Friday. I don't know if I mentioned it. It's Friday. We've got. Oh well, they can introduce each other, but we've got two of our designers with us.
Our only two designers at the moment.
We've
been called worse, haven't we?
Yeah. And they'll introduce each other in a second. But today we want to cover a lot of more branding, brand identity, and everything that we do, or these guys do on a daily basis. Really, obviously, a lot of our clients care a lot about the brands, and that's generally the reason why we start working in the first place, and then we move into systems and tech and all that stuff. But initially, the North Star of one of a good client for us that comes on board is usually impeccable brand. That's what they're aiming. They're aiming to build something that they've not experienced before, something that really makes them feel passionate and gives them fulfillment and something that they're proud of, and that's what these guys do. So that's what we're going to dig into. We'll be looking at branding problems, mistakes that we see, even where to start to begin with, and how you just get on that journey of building a brand to be proud. So yeah, we'll see where it takes us. First of all, Jay,
what?
You are going to introduce Joe. I've only introduced you as designers at the minute, which is
okay.
I'll be honest, introducing you just as designers is a bit of a slap in the face to you. You do a lot more than that, but you can introduce Joe, and Joe's going to introduce you. So take it away.
Okay, this is Joe. He is a digital designer. And he's very good at his job.
Why was he giving it all shit before?
Wait till we film later.
Because I know he's first. Yeah, because I'm first. I've got to set the tone.
He knows what he says, sets the president flag.
Yeah.
So
you're going to say fuck all as well?
See what he says first.
Yeah, just done it, mate. Short and sweet.
Fair dues.
All right then. Fucking won't ask you again. Joe?
Go on.
Yes, we got Jay. He joined just over a year ago now, wasn't it? Again, digital designer, joined just as we moved into the new office, so the company was sort of changing quite a lot at that point as well, wasn't it? I think he's come on board and took us to the next level.
Just to set the record straight as well, I'm sure Liam will
Thanks,
back me up
mate.
on this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
These are a lot more than, there's nothing, I'm not saying anything bad about graphic designers or designers, but these two are a lot more than just designers. To sort of give context, generally when someone like this, like Jay or Joe, starts at Graphfit, they come on board as usually naturally creative, very gifted, inspired people. You don't really need to teach them how to get inspiration, you don't need to teach them how to be creative, but we quickly upskill from being a graphic designer and a creative to a web designer, an account manager, an impeccable communicator, just a video editor, motion graphics. Like, how many things have you sort of dipped your toe into and actually become a master of, both of you, since starting? And that's what makes it really difficult for us to find people like these, because they don't really exist. They're generally a really good designer or a really good web designer, or they're an account manager, or they're not usually known for something. And these boys, along with other members of the team, sort of do a lot, don't they? And it's something that we're proud of. It's something that, again, it's hard to find, and we want to keep them when we've got them. And I've only had a sip of beer. I've not even had a full pint yet.
I'll start crying.
I'll start crying.
I don't know, getting choked up here,
but
mate.
yeah, I just wanted to just set the precedent straight. Anyone that works with these two knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I think that sets the tone, doesn't it, really?
Oh yeah, is that we're just going to be soppy for an hour? No,
Yeah, I might have. Well, you will be after drinking that.
You will be back, you.
Pint of Brewdog Guinness. First of all, what I want to start with is just some highlights. Obviously, one of the main aims of us being able to sit here like this is to just sort of reflect a little bit. That's why we do it on a Friday. That's why we do it once a month, because it gives us a real nice sort of lens to look back on and go, what have we enjoyed? What have we not enjoyed? What's happened? What's been funny? What's been shit? So has anyone got anything to share? Any highlights over the
recently or?
past month maybe? We'll go as far back as a month. We don't want to go too far back.
I'd say Sean coming on, growing the team again, which we've not had an issue with them, and we've not had someone join it.
Yeah.
Go wrong board, they've hated it. That would be a highlight for me. Just
Is that because they don't hate it or they're scared to say they hate it?
oh no, you know that can bring problems, can't it? When you bring new people on board, them. Just like when I said when Jay started, we just come in the new office, like it's constantly changing, isn't it? So every time you bring someone new on, it's changing again. And
Yeah, it's hard as well because the team's so small as well. If you bring one in who doesn't suit, or we've noticed in the past, like not everyone's not always firing 100%, and obviously people bring stuff in from outside of work, and you can kind of feel like when someone's off, you can feel it a little bit. And then say if you bring the wrong person in, and the team's only 8, 9, 10 people deep, you bring one in, and it's like a big chunky team. If you've got a big office of 100 staff, you bring 2 or 3 people in who aren't really fitting the bill, you can kind of sort of go under the radar a little bit. But I think in here you can notice if someone's not the right fit, but luckily everyone we've brought in so far has been a good fit.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say though we as like I guess the owners of the business expect a big buy-in, don't we? Our expectations are quite high versus maybe working with other companies. We kind of do expect you to be bought in a lot more. We expect a lot more engagement from you. Like we do the socials. There's a lot that you commit to when you come working here, and I think that has its pros and cons. The pros is that it creates a real nice environment, and it means that we are very integrated. We know what's going on in each other's lives sometimes, but on the flip side of that, it helps to spot like the situation you just said, because it's really easy when everybody's like almost like mates. And you're doing a lot of things together, you talk about a lot of things, and you have the personal jokes and all the rest of it, and you have the banter every day. It's very easy to spot a rabbit in the headlights when somebody isn't feeling that way. But when you get it right, I think it's a nice place to be. Because let's be honest, like it's not the easiest job. Like I said at the start of this, like you're not just a graphic designer or a web designer or whatever. You have to wear many hats, and it's very high pressure sometimes. But then hopefully the idea is that the rewards there and you grow, and that's a big part for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think a big part for me is like having the clients in. And I think like someone like Sean and yourselves, like I think we benefit from that a lot. We spoke about it on episode 1 when we did the Friday show with Sam. Sam talked about how particularly the second time you meet a client, like there seems to be something there. Like an energy, like you understand a little bit, because obviously you're going back, and some clients you speak to every single day, and there's always that thing of like things come across differently on messages, and when you're under pressure, the client's under pressure, whatever it may be, things come across differently. But when you understand
a robot, isn't it? Until you meet them face to face,
and then you understand, that's what they mean, or this is the pressure, or that you just have context. And I think that's a big push. But I think overall the company's just matured. Like probably since you started, which is what, 2 years?
2 years today.
2 years today.
2 years today. It is. Cheers.
Congratulations.
Don't worry, we've got a stitch up later.
we have got something ready. But to be honest, that was meant to be today's post on socials, but then he sent me. I just got a random airdrop, and it was the what was it? Oh, the Lewis Neal
project.
And I was like, that's too good.
What was the song in the back?
What was it?
Something about
you tell us.
Something about cooking.
Let him cook.
And I got that, and I was like, that's too good not to post. So
sorry, Joe.
Yes, when Carl said like it's hard working here sometimes. I was sitting next to Jay editing videos without his AirPods for around 2 or 3 hours.
Let's not talk about the one you've just been editing then, shall we?
I've always been editing.
It's a podcast, but I was playing it.
Whose podcast was it?
Keegan's.
And what was being said in it?
Not much. It was just on 2 speed and very loud for like good 20 minutes straight.
Well, what's funny though, obviously we've got this space now and it's probably a bit easier to do that, but in the old office, what was it like when someone was like on a call without the pods or like editing a video? Sam was the worst. Sam
from what I've seen, I would not last in that office, mate.
Sam would watch the reel from start to finish and then he'd change something and then he'd watch it from start to finish and literally in the end I was like, you shut your eyes in bed at night and you can just hear this reel over and over in your head.
You know what Sam's like though, where like he doesn't think.
Yeah.
So he would listen to it over and over again.
Yeah.
Because, like he would play it, but then like almost like forget to listen. He'd space out in the time that he pressed play and asked to listen. So then he'd play it again and he'd just keep playing it. It was and his leg, he'd shake his leg. Oh my god, he was on like second floor. It was like a second floor, weren't it? And it was wooden floor, and he'd shake. He'd just be doing that. He does it now, but you just don't feel it. Yeah. And he's doing that. Honestly, your screen.
That's probably why we moved, to be honest.
Well,
get some carpet in and just like he can just shake like fuck in the corner.
First time we walked into this office with like concrete floors. We'll have it.
Test it.
Yeah.
No, I'm always walking us round the mean like
but no, I think that's been we have matured a lot. The company's matured a lot. The people here have matured a lot. And I think it's becoming like a real culture now. I think I'm always conscious with culture. Like I think we sort of derive culture naturally anyway. But there's always that fear for me personally of the environment looking a certain way on the outside and it not necessarily being like that on the inside. And I know there's always perception that's involved on when you're looking from the outside in where there's going to be differences. But one thing for me is just making sure that the place is as enjoyable and as rewarding to work as it looks.
Yeah, definitely. I've never worked anywhere where the culture's like it is here. And everyone just feels like family here, don't they? Like everyone's just dead, like tight knit, and I think that's what like opened my eyes as well when I first started.
See, that's what like I've never really experienced the other side. I think every job that I've had since leaving school has been like that. It's always had a culture. So I've never worked in somebody where I felt like a number. Yeah. So that's why naturally it comes to me, but it doesn't come to everybody, and that's why naturally I'm probably maybe a little bit more involved than some business owners and stuff, because that's how I've always been treated. And I do believe it's the right way to run a business. It's definitely more expensive. It's definitely more challenging. It brings up more bottlenecks and hurdles and things like that. But the end result is people want to stay.
People want to do more as well when you get treated better.
That's what I think with where you said with the buying thing. Like if you had the environment we've got, but you didn't have the buy-in from people, it'd be an absolute nightmare just to run in terms of like how fluid it is and the freedom you get and stuff like that. But you get the buy-in, like you get the complete other side of that. People are bought in, so like everyone respects each other. They respect each other's space. We all push each other's buttons and take the piss out of each other. But there's always a ceiling that everyone sort of works around. So we've got a good blend, touch wood, that we've got a nice thing where everyone's bought in. They respect that there's some fluidity in it and the environment's a little bit different. It's a bit unique, but we've got the benefits of it rather than the drawbacks.
You're just not having an office party again.
Never again.
Jay?
No,
never again.
Got PTSD sitting in here.
just for the record, I think it was Jay and Beth's first proper night out since the little one came along.
Too. Yeah.
And they hadn't had a proper drink since. So, well, you were both smashed by the time I turned up. And this was the first.
Sounds there about 20/7.
It was
something like that. We've been here since 7. So this was, and this was the first and last office party we've ever had. We cleared all the desks out, and it turned into fucking a nightclub overnight.
Yeah.
And it lasted a few hours.
Yeah, but what time did they end up getting off?
I think you were
I'd
off
put
before midnight. You were just very
12.
very efficient, getting like in and out, absolutely on your back.
Yeah.
It probably would have carried on unless.
I would say though I weren't the worst behaved.
No,
I was just a pissed happy monk.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should use it, but we do have footage of young Sam climbing over the gate at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I'm still waiting to see that. I've not seen it yet.
It's just like issue with the security.
Yeah, security have been on our ass since. But it was good. I think a highlight for me as well recently is Ollie coming in. So we did, I think it was episode 6 with Ollie Carson, which I'm sure we can put a clip in somewhere, of something outlandish that he said, maybe when he said he had a big dick.
Yeah.
I might be one to put in there and we'll use it as the clip. We could do that.
Yeah.
And that was a good one. And obviously the podcast was good, but it was his comments after when he left, when Ollie Carson's very well respected in the fitness industry, as I'm sure people know if they're watching this. He's built an incredible business. He's got a really good community. He's got a big business. He's experienced. He's been in the fitness industry longer than most, I think. Owned gyms, been an online coach, been a personal trainer, been sponsored, like all this stuff. And he walked away wanting a piece of what we've got, of what we built. And I think that first of all, that makes me proud. But I think there's also probably something in there for the online business world, like not even in the fitness industry, but I think if you are an online business owner now, or online fitness business owner, and you do work from home or you are traveling or whatever, that's great, but there's something special in having a home, having an environment where you can really like foster standards and have a team and stuff. And every single person that's come into this office over the past, since maybe January, to do podcast episodes and clients to come in and see us, I've left feeling the same way, which for me is confirmation that we're on the right track. I just fit in with the culture piece that we just talked about. Yeah. Any other highlights?
I'd say a highlight for me was I got a new client, Ben West, over the last 4 weeks. So working with his branding, getting it from the ground running and just running with it, it's been good. It's one of them like brands that you just click with, it's what you'd want your brand to be like as well. So I think that's where you get the best results too.
Yeah, we said that straight away. Like when obviously I spoke to Ben and then we were sort of back and forth, weren't we? And then when obviously you took him on, it was just you had a good feeling initially that it was like going to be a good brand to work on. And it's like, for us, it's having that creative freedom to be able to, like Ben was literally like to you, I don't really care how long it takes. I've not really got any fit hinging, but I just want it to look great. And I want it to bang first time. And obviously you backed them forth and got the brand now. And it's like, that's like to see that development from just having that freedom to do it. And like, it's like a piece of you in the brand, isn't it? A little
definitely,
bit.
Yeah.
I think we'll put some clips in or something of some branding work that you've done, but I think for context as well, for anyone listening or watching, all the work we do is on retainer. All the clients are all retainer based, aren't they? And we generally don't have clients leave, so we've got clients that work with us for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, even some of them, since the very start. And so when you get a new client, like you just said, you get a new client, it's not very often, is it? Because you generally have the same clients forever pretty much. So I'd imagine, going back to the days when I was doing all the design work, I would imagine having that fresh start of a brand new brand, brand new creative inspiration, vision, everything feels quite good, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's like you've just got free reign on everything you do. And I think because everything that we both like, we're aligned across the board. So it's just so streamlined and so easy as well.
Just digging into that then, what was it that Ben asked for? What was the start? What's like?
It wasn't
so.
He didn't really come with us saying like, "This is what I want." He basically just went back and forth over brands that we both like, and everything that we liked was just similar. Yeah. So it was basically just me going in and doing what I do and what I like, and
just a bit of a shared vision.
Yeah. And he loved
it. So what have you done so far? What have you been working on so far?
So I've done his branding for him, all his typography, and then now we've been doing some social posts as well. So I think it's just bringing everything together now. Yeah.
I always know it's a really good start it's been a good period on what we've outputted as a team. When, like the other day, I seen, obviously we follow Ben on Instagram, I was just scrolling through Instagram all through stories, and one of his stories came up and I seen it and I was like, that looks sick. And then I thought, actually, we must have done that because that's a recent one. And I said to you, Jay, have you done that? And you were like, yeah. I was like, that's sick. So that for me, that's cool because like obviously I don't see how many pieces of design work comes out of this office every day. I don't see all of it sometimes. And then when you just scroll in and something catches your eye and it's come out with these 4 walls, I'm like, that's cool. And I think we get to a point now, you're probably the same, Liam, where I can look at a piece of work and you wouldn't even have to show me the logo or show me the person. I could probably tell you who it's come from. Even though there is actually similarities in probably the brands that I like, the brands that we all like, really. Yeah. But there's a different way that it's executed, and I think that's part of the business maturing that we mentioned before.
Yeah. We had that over the years though, where people were like, you can tell that's come from Graphfit. Even like going back to the Asset Academy when that started, like you'd see ebooks milling about or graphics. Obviously, when graphics at the time were biggie, you've got obviously some that are just aren't good. you get some designers who just aren't good, and you get some work dotted across, and you can just tell what's Graphfit's like purely based off the quality of it, how it comes out, the design work that's gone into it, obviously down to the copy that's in it and stuff like that. But even now, like, you see the stuff that like Joe puts out, and it's just like the quality is just another level.
Well, I think what I realised is, like, obviously we've been on a big recruitment push as well, trying to find people like yous out there, which, like I said, has proven to be difficult. But one thing I've really realised, and I've always known it, but it's kind of confirmed it for me, is the fitness industry has sort of spawned its own version of a graphic designer.
Yeah.
So like I started Graphfit 5 years ago, and at the time a fitness graphic designer never existed. That's the whole reason why I started Graphfit in the first place, because it didn't exist. And freelancers didn't understand what the fitness industry needed. And the fitness industry demanded the quality that you would get from, let's say, a city agency. But city agencies don't give a shit about fucking Joe. Not you, Joe. Joe, who's, personal trainer Joe down the road that wants this high quality and has sometimes got the capital to pay for it as well. And it didn't exist. And then since then, there's been this like new fitness graphic designer that's come out of the woodwork that isn't. I'm not going to say they're not a graphic designer, because it's a disservice to them, but they're not one of these. No. They're not a natural graphic designer, somebody that can turn a creative spin on anything. Yeah. A graphic designer, a traditional graphic designer can take their hand to any format of anything, design, asset, any kind of asset, and they can put a vision to it and they can execute. A fitness graphic designer that has only come around in the fitness industry can't do that. They can create a fitness logo, they can create fitness graphics, and they can create fitness ebooks. I
think that's where we've had the chat in the past about designers, and then you've got like your art workers. Like, realistically, like, there's been times in the past where, say, like, someone's needed to do something doing last minute, Asset Academy ebooks, I can take an ebook that you've designed and I can manipulate it and make something new out of it. But if you told me to design an ebook from scratch, I'm just like, nah, I've got no chance at all. But if I've got something to work off and I can just change elements, then that's that. And I think that's where this fitness graphic design element comes in, where everything kind of looks the same, and not in the way that like your stuff looks the same for one brand, or like the similarities in the way you work. It's more that everything's always like fits the designer and it doesn't fit the brand. Like, it always goes back to this. I can design in this way, in this style. I'm going to just manipulate the brand to suit the way I can design. Which is the
limitation of the design.
Which is what that's for me, is what the designers do generally based around fitness. It's always around this is the way that they do things, and I'm just going to push the brand into that. Whereas obviously you two are the other way around, really.
For me, like, if you look at, like, we'll show Ben West stuff. We could show like Nick's. We showed him that last time. There's a couple that we could probably name, but the best brands for me that have come out of Graphfit lately, and that are in the industry in general, are generally brands that have took inspiration from outside the industry as well. And I think that's what the industry is at a point now where it's always been noisy. I'm not going to say, well, I am going to say the whole cliche of it's saturated. Saturation is on so many levels. I think the industry's saturated in the visual element of it. Everybody looks the same. And the brands that are sort of pulling away from that and are having their own identity, which is then making it easier to build a community and all these things that people are wanting to do, are the brands that have took inspiration from outside the industry, inside the industry, brands that they like every day, brands that mean something to them. Because if you start with brands that mean something to you, it means that they tick the box in emotional connection. And that's usually half the battle. So then if something connects with you, you've got to then understand how it connects you and why it connects you, and then you sort of pass that over into yours and you take vision. Like, you look at Ben West, you look at Nick, I'll say them two again, that you look at that as a brand, as an overall, the textures that are used, the visual elements, the photography that is used, the typography, everything that's used, and it doesn't scream fitness brand. But give me an example of an online coaching business now that just does fitness.
I think there's a big crossover, what I'm seeing at the minute, between fitness and fashion as well. I think obviously Represent's got a big part to play in it, but even like other brands too. Like, when I was going back and forth with Ben, he was telling me clothing brands that he liked and that's how he's seen his business going. And I think between him and a couple of other clients, that's where there's a big crossover at the minute between fashion and fitness.
But again, I personally think that's from emotional connection. because you have to, especially with clothing and fashion, to wear something, to spend money on something that is potentially, you've got, you know, unlimited choice of something, and you choose to spend money on that thing and then you wear it. You do that because you're emotionally connected to something, whether it's the visual look, the feel, the smell. Like, there's so many different things that move into that, and that, like I said, that's the difference. That's where you have to be now in the fitness industry to build a brand. You have to build emotional connection. The starting point of that, where people fall down, is they just don't think about it.
Yeah,
you just don't think about it. But I guess that's where you come on to how you actually build a brand. But like I said, if you're a graphic designer now in the fitness industry, or you're a coach in the fitness industry either, and you're in that category of traditional fitness looking brand, if you're a designer, you're limited by what you can do. You're just churning out stone-faced logos. We know who that is. And all that stuff, it's just a race to the bottom. It's a race to the bottom, and there's so many things that go into that as well. But I think one thing I want to go on to next is, just because it kind of like, it's a bit of a segue onto it, is where you starting with the brand. There'll be so many coaches that will watch or listen to this that have probably overlooked what their brand should be in the first place. Because I feel like when you come into this industry, or even if you've been in the industry for years and you're just getting to the point where maybe you've matured as a business owner, and you actually want to build something that you're proud of now, and you don't just want to, you know, coach people or whatever. Because there's so much business information and so much marketing information and so many action points that is everything other than what you should be doing your brand. It's how to make sales, how to market, how to get leads, how to do all these things. People are leapfrogging brand. And I believe that's a big problem, because I think it leaves you then with a load of systems to execute something that doesn't exist in the first place. And you end up a little bit lost. So what would you say are the starting points for building a brand?
I think we've done a reel about this, didn't we, a few months ago?
Alright, fucking don't bother then.
Should we just put the reel in?
Stick the reel in then, Sam.
Put the reel in.
I hate him this week. You said before, like, he's
doing my head in. He's getting brave this week.
Is he having got a beard down him as well?
Yeah, he starts the diet as well, so he's getting angry now.
1200 calories less, you know.
We got our High Rocks in October as well, don't forget.
Yeah, we're booking High Rocks in Madrid, me and Jay.
What, just go and watch, or?
No, doubles, mate.
Doubles. Where is it?
Madrid.
Oh yeah, why you got Madrid? Yeah, so.
Fucking won't turn up.
Yeah. No, go back to it. I think initially you need to pick who you want to speak to, who you don't want to speak to. Start that as a base, sort of your messaging behind it. I feel like what a lot of people do is they look at who's successful and base it off that instead of who they are. Try and be someone that they're not, sort of thing. So I feel like you need to decide initially who they want to speak to, what their audience is, and then start going from there.
Yeah, I've always said like I always think of it as a bit of a formula usually. So if you think of the things that come together to output good brand, like if you think of a few simple things, there's obviously you, what you like, what you don't like, how it makes you feel. There's then, like you just said, the target audience. They're the two most important people, you and the target audience. And then there will be a similarity probably. If you're targeting a specific audience, it'll be for a specific reason. Are you like them? Do you have the same problem as them? Have you dealt with the same problem as them? Do you have some kind of connection with them? Whatever it may be. And generally that's a good place to start, isn't it? It's like what you just said, like you pick what you need out of those two things, and that will generally give you a feeling. It might not give you, this is where people go wrong, it might not give you a logo. It might not give you a font, it might not give you a colour, but it'll give you a feeling or a vibe that you need to create.
Yeah.
Then your next step from there is obviously go and finding something that gives you inspiration in it.
Yeah.
Do you think you find a conflict with where I was speaking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and there was this conflict of she sort of what she demands of herself and what she does, like professional athlete, like really high standards, sort of like 1%er in terms of the things that she does. She doesn't expect that of a client. And then there's this conflict then of you wanting your brand to sort of depict who you are, but you also don't want to alienate the people you want to work with, because those people are sort of not in those 1%ers. They just want to be a bit fitter, more confident. So do you think there's a conflict of where I don't know whether it's like the personal brand and then like the business where you kind of want it to reflect you, but you don't want to shut off your audience. Like bodybuilders, for example, like bodybuilding logo, like they're just this big brand, like, oh, I'm this big, but you do want to work with Gen Pop clients, and it's like they want to depict themselves within the brand, but then also they don't want to, it just that blurs the lines a little bit.
I think, I don't know, my view on this, my personal view on this is that if you live a certain way and you live by certain rules and certain standards and you want to work with somebody different to that, for me personally, I would probably question why. I don't want to say it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong to do that.
I don't think you'd ever have
longevity
doing that either, though. I feel like you're going to come to the point where you're not going to enjoy it anymore if you're working with people that aren't aligned to
you're going to relate to people who are sort of like you in a roundabout way, aren't you? But obviously, if you've got, like, in terms of like niching down, if you're fucking bodybuilder, you absolutely rigged, but like you don't want to coach bodybuilders, do you reckon there is that conflict there where you're like, well, you're going to attract people who are similar to you, but you're trying to work with these people who've really got nothing in common with you? Do you think that's like
I think
an impossible thing?
It just comes down to one question: what have you got that they haven't, that is going to help them? Like look at Graphfit for an example. I've always said I'm not a coach. I've never been a coach. I've never really even been a gym goer. So realistically, if you take the ideology that I've just said about, you know, wondering why you want to work with someone if you're not the same as them, you have to have something to give them. So for me, it was, I understood what they need. I'm not like them, but I understand what they need and I enjoy doing it. So that was the reasoning for me. So I don't think it's not always that you have to be the same as your audience, but you've got to really understand what it is that you're offering. Like what is your solution for their problem? And as long as you have that solution and you're passionate about that solution, I think that fixes the problem that you just said. I don't think you'll lose passion for it. You can get bored at some point, but that's just life. Like you mature and you get bored of certain things. But if you really just got to ask that, for me, that's it. Ask that question. And I think if you got an answer to that question, then crack on, and figure out a way to, you know, combine you and them, because obviously it's a little bit harder to build a brand, like I said before, about the equation of you and them and finding out, taking the best from both. The further you are away from that audience, the harder it is to do it, and that's ultimately what results in people not being able to build a brand. So it becomes harder to do, but it's not impossible. You've just got to really sit down and think about it, think about what it is. The easiest way to build a brand, or the easiest way for people find to build a brand is when they are the audience. So who was it we're speaking to? Mark and Jess on Mark and Jess's pod. We were on about to them because they've been able to really like sort of build like a thriving community that a lot of people struggle to do in the fitness industry. And it comes down to that they've built a service and a solution for their own problem. They're essentially going out finding and coaching people that are them. That's the easiest way to build a brand, because all you've got to think about is of that equation again of me, us and them. You can give and take on either, because you're both the same. What would I want? What did I want a year ago? Like when I had this problem, what did I do to solve it? It's obviously a lot easier, isn't it? Yeah. And like you said there, like the example of the conversation you had, I think I remember who it was, who you're on about. She's probably trying to speak to everybody. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, and speaking to no one. And I do, to be honest, just to caveat that, I do think there is a time in business when you're growing at the start where you do have to go through a period where you speak to everybody, because not everybody starts, different scenarios, not everybody starts by knowing who they want to work with. Not everybody starts by knowing the different options, even, you know, the different segments of an industry or whatever it is. And you might not even know what you want to achieve yourself. So like, I think we did at the start, we started by working with everybody. Yeah, we obviously were in the fitness industry when we started, but we yes-manned a lot of things to start with, and even stuff that we didn't have the skill set to do. Like, Cal would be like, oh, these have asked for this, what do you reckon? Like, we'll just do it. We'll say yes, and then we'll just figure it out on the way. And I think luckily it's always worked. Yeah, it's hand out. But I think every business has got to go through that. Yeah, and you're learning them situations as well, don't you? It's either sink or swim and stuff like that. If you say and you go all in. Well, realistically, with that, obviously, it's kind of going on a tangent, but you're essentially getting paid to learn how to do it. Yeah. Like some places you pay to learn how to do something, or you do it for free because you're learning. Whereas if someone can pay you to learn how to adopt the skill, you do it, you deliver it, and you do it well, then it's a service. You've been paid for it, and that's.
we've yes-manned the first probably 12 months. We just yes-manned everything.
Easy. Still, I'd say we still do it now, just not as much. There's just as you said that. Then I actually seen Laura Lam, one of our clients. She put a story on before on Instagram, and it was I think she said like she'd interviewed to speak at an event or something, and they asked her something along the lines of what's the hardest thing about being a CEO, and she said the hardest thing about being a CEO is having to learn in real time. And that's exactly what it is. Like what you just said there is getting paid to learn and almost forcing yourself, like the sink or swim, almost forcing yourself to learn. I think that's what we've done really well. If you can label down to a couple of things that Graphfit does really well, it's we just don't say no to any challenge really, and it's never not paid off. I'm sure one day, might bite off more than we can chew. I don't know, but the end result of doing that is always being able to stay ahead of the curve. Which is a massive thing in the industry. It moves so fast, doesn't it? But yeah, going back to the branding stuff, I just think that's probably the biggest problem, just not knowing who you're speaking to. But at the same time, people don't even get to the point of thinking about that, because like I said before, they leapfrog it. People in the fitness industry, companies, coaches that come in, they leapfrog the brand because they want to make money.
Yeah.
Or there's more resources out there, there's more people out there that are going to help you sell or to build a business than there are to build a brand. And I think that's something that we're working on with the new service that we're sort of evolving into on the other side of business, where we're trying to build something that helps that coach coming into the industry to understand what brand they want to build, what it's going to be made of, what it's going to do for them, what it's going to do for the client, so that when they are ready then to invest into a business coach, a mentor, whatever it is, they've actually got the foundations to do something about it.
Yeah. For me as well, it's the instant gratification thing of like, you build a brand and there's no like, it's no return on investment. Like paid media, you go to that, you boost a few posts on Instagram, you put a bit of money behind some ads, and there's kind of a return on investment with that. But with brand, we come into it as well, didn't we, in the car, and we spoke about Ollie Marchon, about like how people think he's just emerged overnight as this thing, and like you don't see behind the scenes what he's been doing over the years to establish himself as this brand. People just see now this thing and going, like we said, like there's probably a lot of people who go, I'd love to be Ollie Marchon, and you're like, you probably do it for a week and you'd be fucking, you'd be on your back, you'd be on your ass. But people don't see the behind the scenes things, similar to what Laura was saying there. There's this element of just having to do it on the go, and it's not an overnight thing, and without those years of trying to establish the brand, you can't leapfrog that point. And then you come to it and you're like, then you're moaning about your brand not being established, when realistically you've not paid any attention towards it, you've not invested any money or time or effort into it, and now you're expecting this thing where you go around the street or you go to fitness events and people are like, oh, can I get a picture and stuff like that, and you're like, you've just leapfrogged it for that instant pat on the back, all that money to come in of marketing, sales, DMs, outbounding, where there's obviously that instant gratification from it. Which you don't get from building the brand. So going on to mistakes then, because obviously you boys are dealing with these problems and these conversations every day, where you're trying to, I guess, conversate over brand and what people want to achieve, which is usually the hardest conversation, isn't it? Like when you're working with any business at the start, and that question of, right, well, what's your vision? And most of the time they don't really have one, do they? So what would you say are the biggest mistakes right now that you've noticed with working with people like that?
Overcomplicating things.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Trying to add too many different messages, elements.
There's too many moving parts and some people's brands.
Too many people. I've always thought the more elements that you put into a brand, whether that just being a logo itself, the more professional it's going to look. It's rare. The more things you put, like that could be colours, icons, wording, the more elements it's got in it, the worse it's going to look. Then it'll just look like a...
Why do people do that though? Because... But I guess, does it come down to confusion? Does it come down to like a lack of understanding? What would you say is sort of the main reason? So if somebody's listening or watching this now and they're not really sure, and they've got all these ideas and they don't really know what to do, what would you say they need to do?
I'd probably say it's probably a lack of understanding. Like, we know that as designers.
Trust your designer. They're a designer for a reason.
They're probably
designers unite.
You just probably have this battle on a daily basis, don't you? Where there's this like just this is what we do, so just let us do it, and then you'll see it and you'll like it. But getting over that initial hurdle is pretty tough. And
I'm thinking in that way, it's not a bad thing. All they're trying to do is put something out there that they think will go down well, and they think by conveying all these different messages from different elements, it'll go down.
Do you think they're just scared of like alienating themselves from the people they're trying to speak to? So they're like, I just want to cover all bases with this, in the hope that people know what I do by just looking at my logo. When like you're not a fucking multi-billion-pound brand, people aren't probably going to see your logo and like refer it back to a service. Like there's going to be further digging, but I think people are just scared, aren't they?
Well, probably use the multi-million, billion-pound companies as an example. Like we spoke about it on another thing we filmed, I can't remember what it was, where it was on about like simplicity, which is basically what you're saying, isn't it? And you look at you look at like the biggest brands in the world, like Apple, Pepsi, Microsoft, Prime,
like Burger King, they've just completely scaled. Like
how many businesses in the last 2 years have completely stripped the logo back as well, though?
Just bare elements.
But it's not just business; it's going through like sports. Football clubs are all
every industry is the same.
Look at like a United logo, where it's gone. Obviously, they still have the heritage of the crest and stuff, but look at like a traditional United logo, and now it's like a fucking devil with a fork or something in it. Something dead simple. It's just an element of it, but it's something really stripped back.
Yeah, it's just like you say, it's just completely just the simplicity of it. It's like say, like Pepsi for me is the one that stands out of just it's literally just the three colours. It's just literally like could be a fucking flag for all people know, but you say it's just scaled back so much from what it was, which I say people should probably pay a bit of attention to.
The simple ones are the most recognisable as well, and the ones that we're also able to now you remember them more.
But at the same time, what's it like when you get a design brief and it's got like Gymshark, Under Armour, Nike? How many times have you had that?
Yeah. Or flip side, when you've got shitloads of like gradients, textures, all on a logo, and it just looks shite.
Gradients are a difficult one because I think gradients have almost come back to a sense. In some areas of design, they've come back, but only in certain segments, only in certain industries. I think like in the SaaS world, like in software and tech, gradients are pretty big, but in the fitness industry, probably not as much.
It goes back to the simplicity thing again, doesn't it? It's just there's just a lot going on, and like I say, the more you can simplify it and strip it back, I think that's generally the way that brands are or should be going.
Yeah. Right, just to finish off, can't finish off. We're at R4 now. We wanted to get to R4, didn't we?
I've got to take Kobe the vets today.
Fucking hell, you should have told us. Fuck Kobe, man. I reckon it's you that's going to the vets.
You go on the vets?
Yeah. I think he's going to the vets. I think he just wants an early dart.
Fucking dart, mate.
When doesn't he get an early dart?
On overtime, maybe.
So just to finish off then, for both of you, we've already kind of discussed a few, but give us a handful of projects that you've worked on, that you've enjoyed recently, that sort of give us a perfect example, a perfect execution of all the advice we've given in this episode. We'll pull them up, whatever brand you're talking about. We'll
obviously,
pull them up
Ben West is what I mentioned earlier. Probably Lewis Neal. What else?
What is it about them that's...
Well, Lewis Neal's different to Ben West because he already had a brand when he came in, so he had his logo and all his branding sorted, but again, we just aligned with the vision of what he wanted it to be like, so I think that just made it so much easier for us, and it just looks nice.
Yeah. And what about yourself?
I probably won't speak too much about it because I know you went over it in the other episode, but Nick's, he come to us, he wanted more of like a lifestyle brand, not fitness. Again, kept it simple. We've put it across a range of different assets.
Yeah.
And then the transfer stuff, people don't think was quite good because I think they already had everything nailed in, and they never necessarily approached us and said, we want to change it. We sort of approached them, didn't we? We just had an idea that we could have made it better. We never changed the logo. We just literally took the assets that they were using, so like across social media.
Yeah, just had like a little shift in there, and it made a big difference.
A change of fonts, stuff like that.
We're going to go with one action step each from what we discussed today. So if there's something that you want, one thing that you want listeners, watchers to go away and do, if anything that we've said today has triggered you in some kind of way, what should they go away and do?
I'd say look at your market and look at the businesses within that who are the most successful and see what your business offers that also they do. Try and sort of take inspiration from that.
Cool. Mine would be, I'm going to rob Joe, so no, this is what he's going to say. Simplicity. Simplicity is key, as they say. I think what is sometimes overlooked in business in general is refinement and building blocks. And I think don't be afraid to start a little bit more simple, as long as it's clear to everybody. And then over time, as you learn and as you mature and as things change, build up bit by bit, and in the end, you'll get there.
I'll go back to what Jay said, trust the designer. Anyone who works, not just with us, with a designer, trust them. You know, we've not just worked here, we've worked in different industries as well. So
where did you used to work?
Sports Direct. No, but we still had to design for a message, we still had to learn how to...
Because, can I just interrupt, sorry? When we say Sports Direct and B&M, there was graphic designers for Sports Direct.
Yeah.
We didn't just take them to the... No offence to anybody who works on the tills in them establishments, but we didn't just take them off the shop floor.
Yeah, part of the marketing teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we do things for a reason. We don't just design stuff to make it look nice. Like we do think of placements and messages.
Like there's things that we go through in a design that they probably would never even think of, even like places on the graphic where your eyes automatically go to, and they probably don't think of all that stuff, and the things we do for a reason.
I think that's a big thing. I think I've heard you say that today actually in the office.
Yeah, I had a little moan earlier.
Yeah.
No.
Mine's similar to what you were saying about knowing who you're actually trying to put the brand across to, and being clear on who those people are, and actually developing the brand towards those people, as opposed to trying to develop it to impress other brands or trying to develop it just to satisfy something within yourself. If it's a brand that you're actually trying to help people with, then it's got to be catered towards those people that you're trying to give the solution to. And like Cal said, being clear on what it is that they're struggling with and you having a solution for it and then conveying that across.
Yeah.
It's easy to get blurred lines.
Yeah, definitely. I think just one piece to finish on. I think if you are struggling with your own brand, or you wanted to rebrand, or you're starting a brand from scratch now,
drop us a DM.
Comment the word brand.
That was basically the Scouse version of what I was going to say. Find some brands in the industry that you really like the look of. I will almost guarantee that they would be designed by us, built by us. I'm quite happy to say that. I don't like coming across cocky, but I genuinely believe that to be true. And follow back from where it came from. Everybody that's got a cool brand, it's been designed by somebody. It's been the visions come together by maybe a team of people or an individual. Follow the path back, see where it's come from, see where the inspirations come from, and if it leads to us, then great. If it doesn't, make sure you come back to us. Whoever's like inspiration's a massive thing for creatives. So if you take anything from this conversation today, just know that we're there for a chat. We promise we won't sell you anything in the DMs. We're not mentors or closers or setters.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to cold call you either.
We're not going to do that. But yeah, drop us a message if you want to chat, some vision, and then if it's something we can help with, then of course we'll help.
Yeah,
that's it, innit?
Yeah.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
We're nearly
After 2 years.
33 minutes past 4. That's not too bad.
Flying. What's your what are we daring you to do?
Butty Van with his top off.
Yeah, but I wanted something for the end of this now that we can film.
I can get passion back in, don't worry.
Is there anything horrible in that fridge?
Dog treats.
I put all of that in the fridge, so I probably like it all.
Will you eat a dog treat?
Yeah, I'm back now.
Would you not eat a dog treat?
No, fuck.
Can you get your ass out and we throw a dart, yeah?
No.
Can you put your hand on a dartboard and we throw a dart?
Yeah, do that.
Spread your hands.
Oh, there we go.
Mike down in case.
Carl just doesn't want to get his ass out.
That's all I want to do.
Alright, that. Ready?
I've seen you play darts as well.
Yeah.
See how hard Joe throws.
Excuse me, finger. I feel fresh here, you know. No, all I did was play.
What are you trying to hit his hand or miss?
We're trying to hit his hand, but
it's
been nice with it. Can I throw again?
Oh yeah, everybody got close to the ball before we can't get it out.
Come on, mate.
Put your shit out, Jay.
I'm getting a P.45 now.
This is a clean hole. Honest answer now, if I'd have hit yours on the first goal, would you have let them two throw?
Nah.